Chief Nyampande shuts down PF over Lungu succession drama. Face screaming in fear, Zambia politics explodes. Zambia has witnessed many political battles, but few as sensitive as this. As the nation waits for the burial of former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, a respected traditional leader has stepped forward with a powerful rebuke. Chief Nyampande is openly criticizing the Patriotic Front for pushing succession discussions before Lungu is even laid to rest. Is this politics as usual? Or a dangerous violation of culture, tradition, and national respect? Tonight, we unpack the statement that has shaken PF, reignited mourning tensions, and reopened the debate over power versus dignity. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. Well, it's been quite a week here in Southern Africa, and as always, we're tracking the stories that matter most to you. And today we have a story that has sent shockwaves through Zambian political circles. Picture this, a traditional chief, a custodian of centuries-old Nsenga customs, standing before his people, not to bless a union, not to settle a land dispute, but to deliver a scalding rebuke to one of Zambia's most powerful political machines. The Patriotic Front. The party that once ruled this nation. The party now tearing itself apart. But what could drive a respected traditional leader to break his silence? What transgression was so grave, so culturally offensive, that Chief Nyampande felt compelled to speak out? Here's what we know. Former President Edgar Lungu passed away in June in South Africa. That was over 6 months ago. 6 months? And his body? Still not laid to rest. Still caught in a web of political intrigue, legal battles, and family disputes that span international borders. But here's where it gets explosive, while the late president remains lie in limbo. While his family grieves, while the nation waits for closure, what has the Patriotic Front been doing? What has consumed their attention? Succession. Political positioning. The scramble for power. And Chief Nyampande has had enough. Is this about respect for the dead? Is this about cultural traditions being trampled by political ambition? Or is there something deeper, a fundamental question about what happens when a political party loses its moral compass? What happens when the quest for power overrides basic human decency? When political calculations matter more than giving a former head of state a dignified burial? And perhaps most critically, what does this say about the state of Zambian democracy when a traditional leader must step in to call out what politicians refuse to address? Factual foundation, background and timeline. The revelation came to light just hours ago when Chief Nyampande of the Nsenga people delivered a sharp rebuke to the Patriotic Front Zambian Observer, a statement that has since gone viral across Zambian social media and news platforms. Let's establish the timeline here, because context is everything. Edgar Chagwa Lungu died on June 5, 2025, at Mediclinic Medforum Hospital in Pretoria, South Africa. Wikipedia Africa. Home, where he had been receiving specialized medical treatment. His daughter, Tassila Lungu announced the death in a video message allafrica.com, and the nation was plunged into mourning. But what should have been a straightforward process, repatriating a former president's remains for burial, quickly devolved into a political and legal nightmare. Lungu's family stopped his body from being repatriated from South Africa after it emerged that President Hakainde Hichilema planned to receive it upon arrival ENCA, something the late president had reportedly wished against. The family insisted on a private ceremony in South Africa. The government insisted on a state funeral in Zambia. By August, a South African court ruled in favor of the Zambian government, ordering that Lungu's remains be repatriated for burial in Zambia. ABC News Al Jazeera. But the family appealed. And appealed again. Fast forward to today, December 2024, and we're now more than 6 months past Lungu's death. The chief has voiced deep concern over the extended delay in conducting the former president's burial, noting that more than 6 months have elapsed since his passing. Zambian Observer. And here's where Chief Nyampande enters the picture. Because while this legal and familial battle has dragged on, the Patriotic Front has been pressing for the selection of a successor before the burial, disrespecting cultural traditions. Zambian Observer. Think about that for a moment. The man who led their party, who was their presidential candidate, who unified their fractured opposition, his body isn't even in the ground yet, and they're already fighting over who replaces him. Direct evidence. Chief Nyampande didn't mince words in his statement. According to the traditional leader, as reported by the Zambian Observer, the period of national mourning has been marred by political maneuvering, overshadowing the necessary reflection and unity. Zambian Observer. Let that sink in. Marred by political maneuvering. This is a chief, someone whose entire role is built on maintaining tradition, unity, and respect. Saying that the PF has turned what should be a time of national reflection into a political circus. But he didn't stop there. Chief Nyampande has attributed this delay to internal party conflicts and raised questions about the current status and location of the late president's remains, including whether they are still being held outside Zambia. Zambian Observer. You hear that? Even the traditional leaders don't know where the body is. Even they are asking questions that should have simple answers. The chief's frustration is palpable. And it mirrors what many Zambians have been saying privately: where is the dignity? Where is the respect? Now, to understand the PF's succession scramble, we need to look at what happened before Lungu's death. Because this didn't come out of nowhere. In December 2024, just weeks before Lungu passed, Zambia's constitutional court ruled that Lungu was ineligible to run for another term in office, finding that he had already served the maximum 2 terms allowed under the constitution. Jurista.s. News and World Report. Lungu's response at the time? I accept this verdict. I accept it not with resignation but with resolve. US. News and World Report. He wrote on Facebook. But his allies in the PF had a different reaction. PF Vice President Given Lubinda told the Africa Report. With or without the Patriotic Front, we are fielding Edgar Chagwa Lungu as the Tans Alliance candidate in 2026 elections. The Africa Report. Even after the court ruling, they were planning to field him. To find workarounds. To make him a running mate. Anything to keep him at the center of their political machinery. And then he died. And suddenly, the PF, a party weakened by factionalism since its 2021 electoral defeat and now facing an acute leadership crisis, InspirAfrica, found itself without its unifying figure. The scramble began immediately. Internal tussles between the Miles Sampa, Given Lubinda, and Robert Shabinga camps have intensified as each seeks to assert dominance without Lungu's moderating influence. InspirAfrica. Deeper analysis, implications and reactions. So what are we really witnessing here? Is this just about one party's internal politics, or does it speak to something larger? Political analyst Laura Mitty raised some pointed questions that have resonated across Zambian social and political circles. In a statement that went viral, she asked, will the widow and the presidential children sit down to discuss succession while President Lungu is still in the mortuary? Zambian Observer. She continued with even more probing questions. When the Lungu family, however determined, share their views on who should be president of PF, and I guess they hope Zambia, what will give their view gravitas? Is it family ties, wisdom, knowledge of EL's wishes, political acumen, ability to fund campaign, spirituality? Zambian Observer. These aren't just rhetorical flourishes. Mitty is asking fundamental questions about political legitimacy, about what gives someone the right to lead, about whether democratic processes have been replaced by dynastic thinking. And here's the cultural dimension that Chief Nyampande is emphasizing. In many African traditions, and specifically among the Nsenga people, there are protocols around death and succession. You don't discuss who takes over until the deceased is properly laid to rest. You don't turn a funeral into a political convention. The chief has called upon the New Dawn administration to intervene and help the nation achieve closure, warning that the prolonged situation is both a cultural impropriety and a source of ongoing Zambian Observer tension. That's significant. The chief is essentially saying, this isn't just politics anymore. This is affecting the social fabric. This is creating spiritual and cultural distress. But there's another layer here. Former State House aide Amos Chanda wrote in January 2025. ECL's delayed departure from the political stage does not make the case of a smooth transition any easier for the PF. His image as a statesman is not enhanced by the polarization that inevitably defines our brutal machine party politics in Zambia. Zambian Observer Chanda, who worked closely with Lungu, argues that the succession in the PF is long overdue. It has always been. The lack of clarity on his retirement has subdued any genuine efforts at the emergency of a new unifying figure. Zambian Observer. So even before his death, Lungu's continued presence at the center of PF politics was preventing the party from developing new leadership. And now, in death, the battle over his legacy and his succession has become even more bitter. The broader implications for Zambian democracy are profound. With the opposition divided and weakened, the ruling UPND party has gained advantage InspirAfrica, potentially facing a fractured opposition in the 2026 elections. As one InspirAfrica analysis put it, unless a new opposition figure can command similar respect as Lungu did across party lines, the opposition will likely enter the 2026 polls divided and weaken InspirAfrica. So where does this leave Zambia? You have a former president whose body has been caught in legal and political limbo for over 6 months. You have a traditional chief publicly rebuking a major political party for violating cultural norms. You have a party so fractured, so consumed by internal power struggles, that it can't even wait for a proper burial before fighting over succession. And hanging over all of this is the specter of the 2026 elections. Will the PF find unity? Will they respect the chief's call for cultural propriety? Or will they continue this scramble for power even as their former leader remains unburied? Chief Nyampande's intervention is significant because it represents more than just one voice. He speaks for a tradition, for a set of values that says, some things are more important than politics. Some things demand respect, dignity, and patience. Whether the Patriotic Front will listen, well, that remains to be seen. Thank you so much for watching today's edition of InspirAfrica Official. This is a developing story, and we'll continue to bring you updates as they come in. I want to hear from you in the comments below. Do you think Chief Nyampande is right to speak out? Should traditional leaders play a role in calling out political impropriety? And what does this say about the state of Zambian politics? Drop your thoughts below. Share this video with anyone who needs to understand what's happening in Southern African politics right now. And subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be back tomorrow with more stories that matter. This is Nakash, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay inspired.